He's never lost a real fight in his life. And he just admitted a WWE general manager scares him. Jacob Fatu, the Samoan Werewolf, a former UFC heavyweight, calling Nick Aldis a terrifying opponent. Not a bit. Not hype. So what did Aldis do to earn that? And if you think this is just build for a Gunther match, think again. Because the real threat here might not be inside the ring at all. Welcome to Tidal Wave, the channel that reads backstage politics like tea leaves, because half the time, that's exactly what WWE booking is. If you've written off Nick Aldis as just a suit near the announce table, consider this your wake-up call, because that suit is stepping into a wrestling ring for the first time in his entire career, against Gunther at SummerSlam. Somewhere, Vince Russo is taking notes on turning a general manager into an in-ring threat without it feeling like a fever dream. Spoiler, it barely works, but WWE's doing it anyway. So here's the real question sitting underneath all of it. When the man who signs your paycheck becomes the man standing across from you in the ring, who actually holds the power? Let's get into what's real because the timeline is wild. Aldis and Gunther have been on a collision course since Clash in Italy, and after the blow-up at SummerSlam kickoff, Triple H made it official: Gunther versus Nick Aldis in a WWE ring at SummerSlam. His first match in nearly 3 years. His first ever inside WWE ropes. Now here's the part nobody's connecting. Fatu already has real history with Aldis. Remember the backstage attack that left him bleeding with Aldis rushing over to check on him? That got sold as concern. But why does a GM who barely acknowledges half his roster sprint to check on Fatu specifically? That's not protocol. That's personal. If you're locked in with us, smash that like button and join the Tidal Wave family right now. Because what connects next turns this from a random backstage moment into something way bigger. Fatu isn't some bloodline enforcer running on pure instinct. He's a former title holder who's watched his family's legacy get rewritten by other people's decisions for years. So the moment Aldis becomes the man standing between Fatu and the top of the card, that backstage history stops being a footnote. It becomes a motive. And here's the reveal that changes the read on everything. All signs point to Aldis quietly steering Fatu away from singles opportunities, keeping him boxed into tag scenarios. Most recently stacking him with the returning Usos against LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys instead of clearing him a path to the top of the card he's earned. Keeping a former UFC heavyweight sitting in a holding pattern is a lot like storing dynamite in a supply closet. Eventually somebody asks why it's still there, and that's the kind of contradiction that would make even WWE's own reset button blush. Now, the internet wrestling community's already got its theory, and shocker, it's the loud, obvious one. Everybody wants Fatu versus Aldis in the ring. Some revenge match where the GM finally gets what's coming. That's the fanfiction version. The real scenario is quieter and far more dangerous. This is building toward Fatu calling out WWE's authority structure in front of a live crowd, forcing Triple H to choose between backing his GM or admitting the politics are real. That's not a brawl. That's an earthquake. So which side does Triple H actually pick? This is where Fatu's psychology gets genuinely fascinating. Every all-gas, no-brakes line he's ever dropped isn't just a catchphrase. It's a worldview, and it doesn't bend to a general manager's spreadsheet. He's spent his career being managed and repackaged by other people's decisions. Calling Aldis terrifying isn't fear talking. It's recognition. He sees a threat to his climb, and a threat is the one thing this man has never learned how to ignore. So here's where this is heading 3 ways into SummerSlam. Prediction 1. Aldis rides his new in-ring credibility from the Gunther match straight into publicly justifying Fatu's tag placement as protection. Prediction 2. Fatu confronts Aldis directly on SmackDown, forcing Triple H to expose the politics live, on camera. Prediction 3. The swing for the fences. Fatu's frustration turns on the Usos themselves, with Aldis exposed as the spark that cracked a bloodline reunion that was already fractured underneath. One of these 3 things will happen. The only question is which one. Here's your takeaway. Nick Aldis stepping into that ring didn't make him brave, it made him dangerous in a different way. And Jacob Fatu calling him terrifying was never about fists, it was about control. So tell me, is Aldis protecting the roster or protecting himself? Drop it below, because next week's SummerSlam breakdown blows this wide open. Tidal Wave, signing off.